Today is a special day. It is the 33rd anniversary of me being on this earth. Today is my birthday. So it has been 33 years, and I've learned quite a bit, and I would like to pass some of that knowledge on to you. It doesn't matter if you're younger than me or older than me, as maybe everybody can learn from this advice because all of our experiences are somewhat different, and in areas that I have learned a lot, maybe that information can help you. First of all, if you're wondering what this thing is, it is a Bripe. You can find an affiliate link in the description below if you want to pick up one. It's just a little sort of coffee brew pipe thing. It's mainly used for when you're backpacking and on the go, and anytime you just want to have a shot of coffee. I'm not sponsored. This was actually bought for my birthday and given to me. So, and I tell you what, it's I have come to love it. So, what are the main things that I have learned going through 33 years? Number one, popularity is far less important than you think growing up, especially when you're in school. The things that you really need to focus on, and I know it's a cliche to say, but your education is primary. You have got to get that down. See, the thing is that you can go to parties and you can hang out with friends and everything else like that, but that's not really going to help you later on in life where it matters, because your friends in high school, yeah, you're always going to maybe have that connection, but most likely right after high school, because high school is sort of the focal point where you meet and hang out. You're not going to have that anymore, so you're all going to go in different directions, maybe lose contact. You're going to gain other friends in other areas, but the return on investment for your education in those years is going to be massive later on. Because what you want to do ideally is get an education, get a really good education, learn everything that you can, and then go out and start a career, get a high-paying job, and that will allow you to do many, many other things later on in life. And I would like to point out something, that even if you did not get an education and you're sitting there right now going, I'm 30, 40, 25, and I have nothing, I don't have my GED, I'm just sitting here. Start now. You can do it. It is literally never too late for that type of thing. One of the return on investment benefits that you get from focusing really, really hard on your education is that later on in life, there is less of a chance of you having to worry about where your next meal is going to come from. And that is by far much more important than impressing anybody at school by showing up to a party when you should be studying. Which I know that sounds really, I sound like an old man saying that to young kids. Focus on your education, don't hang out with your friends. But just think about it. Think about it. Second thing, they may not teach this in high school. Maybe they're putting the classes back in. I hope that someday they will. Learn to do personal finances and taxes. Like, just go to your local library and pick up a book on home economics, read it, and it will change the way that you think about everything. Super important. Know and stay within your financial limits. You don't want to get into a lot of credit card debt and then default on that, or default on your school loans, or have any other problems where you're running a negative balance at your bank every single month and it gets worse, and then you have to pay several $35 fees every time that a transaction goes through, and then it just takes you down and down and down and down. You don't want that to happen. So plan a budget, get a budget, stay within that budget as much as you can. If I could sear into your brain one piece of advice, that is to work hard. Whatever you're doing, work really hard at it. Study it. Get deep, get your hands dirty deep into it, whatever it is. Be like John Wick, a man of focus and determination. Sheer will towards the goal. The next piece of advice is actually really critical, and it has to do with college. You hear a lot that you need a college education, that you need to go out there and get higher education, because if you don't, later on in life, you're not going to have anything. And to a certain extent, that's absolutely true. The statistics bear that out. However, you have to pick something that is actually worth going to college for, that on the other side of that degree has jobs or opportunity. Because if you just end up getting maybe like it's going to sound so cliche, but like an art degree or something, and you're not really into it, on the other side of that, you're really going to run into a problem. Biggest advice that I can give you on college: stay completely away from for-profit colleges at all costs. They will literally accept anyone. The requirements for those colleges are basically, are you breathing? Yes, you're in. I will tell you this. Most things you can learn at your local library. If you want to get into art or photography or any of the sort of liberal arts study stuff, just take a trip for free down to your local library. They have sections of books on the subject. Dig into those. You'll learn everything that you need to know. Also, YouTube is a very helpful platform for learning that type of stuff. I have a couple videos on how to set up for podcasting. And you don't need an audio engineering degree to do it. So ideally, if you're going to go to college, start out with like a local community college, 2-year college, and then transfer over to a 4-year college. Otherwise, if you can transfer directly into a 4-year college, great. Otherwise, you may want to search, in a different direction. Trade school. It's like college, but you get paid to go and learn. And there's never going to be a shortage of people needing plumbers or electricians or welders. They're actually having a really big shortage of people that can weld. So check that out. And like I said, if you are going to go to college, really soul search on the subject that you want to go into before you make that choice. Because it's going to be more work than you think it is. And also, if you're going into something because you have a large passion for it, that's amazing. That's awesome. Just know that it's going to be eventually work. You're going to be working a lot at this, and it's going to seem like you got into it because you were excited about it, and now that you're into the meat of it, it might get really tedious, and you really have to think about if it's a hobby or something that you want to pursue as a career. And what I would definitely say is, like I said, go down to your local library, because they have sections on everything. You can check out books, and they can actually order in books from other library systems if you need, and maybe spend 6 months, a year digging into that subject and really see if it's what you want to do before you decide to do it. And then if you get into it and you're like, oh, this is great, I want to do this, then start pursuing that next step in getting a degree. So let's say that your passion is archaeology and you're digging into it, and you go to school, into college for it and everything else like that, and it is a passion for you and you love it, and you start to get into that tedious thing where it's like, man, maybe this isn't for me, and you're having doubts, or it's just really a lot of work. My advice is to find something else, just painting or anything else that can be a hobby that you can take a break to go do, and then still have archaeology as your passion. You sort of recharge with this thing and then go back at it, and recharge and then go back at it. And that will help to sustain you through that cycle. The other thing, really the most important thing, when I think about it, your health matters a lot. So don't take up smoking, don't take up a whole bunch of drinking, or at least don't drink too heavily, Take care of yourself, because the more miles, the quicker that you put on miles onto this cardiac Cadillac here, the worse that it will run later on. So much like maintaining anything, eat healthy, exercise regularly, because it's going to help you in the long run. And I say that having come from the other side of the coin where I did not do that and am having to make lifestyle changes that, that I have to make. And you certainly don't want to get to the point where you have to do these changes in order to stay alive. There will be stress in your life. Everybody experiences it. It's common. The thing to remember is not to panic, not to run away from your problems, whether they be financial or otherwise, thinking that if you look at them and if you confront them, that they're just going to somehow consume you and then you're going to be done, because that's actually the opposite of what's going to happen. In order to ultimately defeat the problem, you're going to have to turn towards it and stare into the abyss. You have to look at it, you have to acknowledge it, you have to analyze it, and after you can fully see the problem and what's going on, and that's when you can start to plan to defeat that problem. You can look into the future, plan ahead, know what pieces you have to move around in order to overcome it, to where it isn't a problem anymore. Some examples are, if you have bad grades, take a hard look at where your time is going during the week. Look for the things that are time sinks, they're sucking time away from studying. That time is very valuable that you can't get back. So whether it's like internet games in general, or the internet, or your friends, or sometimes it's your family too. You have to learn to say no and then exert all of that time back onto where it needs to go. And it's hard. It really is hard to say no, but in the end, believe it or not, they'll have more respect for you when you say no and you're focusing on other things. As long as it's not, please give me a ride to the doctor. No, I must study. Obviously that's got to do that. But if it's something else like, come play this game with me for 6 hours. No, I must study. I don't want to be a homeless bum on the street. Another example is if your finances are just in shambles. You have to track exactly where that money goes. Where is your money going exactly, every penny, every month? And you can, once you track that, once you analyze it, you can go, oh, I'm spending $500 a month on going out and eating, or I'm having too much, I'm going out for coffee too much. I mean, let's say that you buy a coffee every day from, one of the high-end places for $5, every day that you go to work. So 5 days a week, 5 times 5, 25 times 4 is $100 a month that you might be spending. Maybe go spend $14 on a coffee pot and make it yourself before you leave, save a bit of money. At that rate, that's 12 Benjamins a year, you know what I'm saying? It's the little things, the little vices add up, and when they add up to, stress because you don't have enough, and then that's where they go. Now, maybe you're in the situation that you're not making enough money, or maybe you're making no money, and you're like, well, how does the financial advice help me if I don't have a budget? I don't, I want to tell you, first of all, that you have more capability than you know that you have. You just have to be clever enough to apply it. First of all, obviously you need to get a job. I mean, that's not, if you have medical problems and everything else like that, that's a different thing. I'm saying if you don't know what to do and you're just there and you're not going anywhere, start with a job. Go get a job, and then if it's solid advice, because I heard Casey Neistat say when he was working as a dishwasher that working that job made him realize what he really wanted to do. That is so true. I used to work as a janitor, and it really makes you think about what you're going to do in life. But the key here is that where you want to go, when you realize what you want to do, when you're going, I have no money, you study really hard. You pick that subject, you start studying, but you're working at the same time, and you have to be very clever in getting yourself up and going. And after you work really hard at that, you will succeed. But it starts with being very clever at gaining an income. I used to mow lawns to get some extra money when I wanted to, have a really good 4th of July and buy fireworks. So you can find places where people need things and then exploit that. Which I know it sounds like, oh, that sounds simple, Jason, but I know it's not that simple. But the principle is what is important. Executing the principle. And just keep fighting. Keep fighting for what you want in life. Don't give up just because you fail the first time. Keep going. Whether it's a better career, better health, better finances, you keep going, you keep fighting until you get to that point. And then even then, you keep going. This next point has been on my mind for a while. And I still probably haven't formulated it into a good thought, but I'm going to try to get a whack at it. You don't have to be the hero of the world. It's enough just to save you, to start. We've been raised in a society, in a culture where it's like all the TV shows were like you have to be the top, and they were always the top, and it's not necessarily that you need to be the best at what you do. You just need to do the thing that you want to do. It's the idea that if you don't hit that standard of being number one, at whatever it is, then you have completely failed in every single way. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. You don't have to be number one. You just have to shoot for it. Obviously try for number one, but if you don't end up being number one, understand that you are an improvement every single day. You are always, as long as you keep going, you're always going to be number one yourself. You're in a race against yourself to be better than you were yesterday. You don't have to be number one in the race. You just have to be able to say that you ran the race, that you completed it. As long as you can look in the mirror at the end of the day and go, I have done the very best that I can do. That's enough. And I know that there's a lot of people that talk about how, we give out participation awards at school, and I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but the thing is that those participation awards, they don't say number one on them. They say that you completed the race. They say that you were there, and not everything is a winner-take-all situation. In fact, most things in life, when you get to an adult, they're not. I mean, some things are, sure, competition in business and everything else like that, you can look at that. But even then, in those situations, it takes cooperation between many, many people, many, many businesses to accomplish things. Most things that people do as an adult and as just people in general it's a cooperative effort between, adding my skill, even though maybe it's just a little skill, to the bigger whole of the thing. And the thought that I have in all this, and I just want to point this out here, is that, thinking about like when we went to the moon, for example, it wasn't just, von Braun that got us there. It wasn't just him, out there doing it all. It took thousands of engineers, cooperating together to make that happen. And even though they were the best in the field, and of course you should shoot to be the best in the field, you're still contributing, that little bit. You're not necessarily number one, or, and you won't be number one in the history books either, but it's important that you participate and give that. And again, that's enough. Do your best, work hard. That's it. And in life as a whole, when you strip everything else away, what is it that you're here to do? What is it that, as a human, you're here to help. We're all here to help each other. And sometimes it's a hard truth. It's a hard pill to swallow. But sometimes the best way to help everybody else is to lift yourself up. Is to rise to your peak level. Work really hard so that you don't have to burden yourself on other people. And when you reach that peak level, when you're working really hard, you can generate maybe some excess that you can, you reach out and help other people up along the way. But that only happens when you work really hard and lift yourself up. And in doing that, you give yourself a little more meaning in your life, I think. Make the world a little better. And that's basically what I've learned in 33 years of being on this planet. Again, I am Jason. Today is my birthday. I created a t-shirt. Boop. You can find it, link in the description below. Most things you can learn at your local library, so you can pick that up and wear that around. You'd be supporting me, helping me out. I hope that you will join me again. You can do that by subscribing to this channel, hitting that notification bell so that you're notified when I upload another video. Like this video, share this video with everybody, and God bless, and I hope to see you tomorrow.